Hi, I'm Logan Munoz. I couldn't get my computer audio to work, so I'm doing my research project like this. I did my project on Genesis 1, 3 through 8. So if I were to choose an audience for a presentation, my audience would probably be people who know little about the Old Testament. And I chose this because that's why I took this course. I knew little about the Bible, the Old Testament, that kind of stuff, and I wanted to know where it came from. I wanted to know how it started and kind of how it formed. And I know that this may be a good introduction for people like me because it's very close to the beginning of Genesis, and it's kind of an iconic story that kind of sets the tone for the rest of the Old Testament. So my research has better prepared me because now I have a better understanding of how the story of Adam and Eve came to exist. So I know the story itself and how it ties to the rest of Genesis. That obviously I understand the symbolism of the objects in the story, like the characters, the serpent, the garden, Elohim. I understand some of the correlations between the objects of the story and Canaanite mythology, and such as the garden. And I understand the different perspectives on the characters, their intentions, and the reasons for their actions, like Elohim cursing the serpent. I feel more qualified to recite this since I researched it thoroughly now. What would I research further? If I were to present my passage, I would certainly research the influence that Canaanite culture and other religions had on the story and the Old Testament in general. There are plenty of examples in Genesis having correlations to Canaanite mythology, such as Numa Eilish, fertility gardens used for rituals, that kind of stuff. And I just find it kind of interesting. It may give me insight onto how some of the Genesis stories developed, like Enuma Eilish, the creation sharing some correlations to Enuma Eilish. Additionally, I'd like to research Canaanite religion and other religions that kind of happened before Christianity or Judaism and stuff like that. I just find it kind of interesting how they started. So this project as a whole, this project has taught me the details of Adam and Eve. It taught me that the story of Adam and Eve is deeper than when it first appears. It it taught me that the snake isn't necessarily the devil. The garden holds deeper meaning, and the language used can influence its interpretation. For example, different translations of the book gives the snake different tones and make it seem more or less sinister. Like the Hebrew version definitely makes the snake sound more serious. It was also interesting to analyze the way Elohim acted and the way he acted and the way he did, like cursing the snake, giving him much of a harsher punishment, well, arguably, than the humans. It was difficult to find good sources for the specific verses I was doing my project on, and I found more than one author that had interesting stuff, but I kind of had to limit my sources down for the purpose of the project and the work. But it's given me a deeper look into the Old Testament as a whole, where it came from, the influences that translations play on the scripture, and how I should interpret these stories, because the interpretation is a lot different. Thank you very much.